This video will teach you step by step how you can become a powerful magician for the benefit of yourself and of those around you. Of course, since I'll describe a powerful magician, this video will also teach you how to identify one in a way that even if you're not aiming at becoming one, you'll be able to run from the scammers pretending to be. Although it will be laid out during this video, to actually achieve this, you'll have to dedicate yourself to it. It's an arduous path, but it can be the most rewarding on all levels of your being, and can lead to the most beautiful experiences that any human being is capable of achieving. And the most beautiful is that any human being can achieve these blissful states. First, the perspective such powerful magician should have towards life can be compared to that of an eternal child. We as humans are limited and full of flaws. All of us will make mistakes. It's part of the experience of being a human. Accept that you will make mistakes, while at the same time working to reduce them. Cultivate the awe and the wonder towards the universe and towards life itself. We know very little. The amount of knowledge to be accessed in the universe, either via science or occult endeavors, is enormous. A true magician is an eternal student. A true magician is always growing, always learning. He's guided by his intuition, his curiosity, and balanced by his rational mind, all having their place in harmony with one another. The childlike wonder towards life and the universe and all the discoveries that can be made, the curiosity that comes with it, and the openness to experience that is the consequence of it, are all part of the framework of processing the world that the magician carries. Anyone can at any point decide to strive to be a magician and begin to look inward. Begin to know deeper and subtler facets of your own being and decide to be better every day. I know our current time is hard and many carry a lot of trauma that needs to be processed through shadow work and meditation. From a Jungian perspective, shadow work is facing the patterns of behavior, thought, and feelings we have and should learn to deal with, but we actually dislike and don't accept and hide from others, or even worse, from ourselves. It is often our flaws, the ideas that trigger us, the relationships that cause anger, or the situations that cause shame. The fear, of course, of death, of the world, of everything. It can also show up as those repeating patterns of issues that keep repeating in our lives, even with different people. So you first need to accept your imperfections and begin working on yourself to grow and evolve and improve in whatever areas of life you feel called to, one at a time. This, as any spiritual journey, is a journey for an entire lifetime, if not multiple. But magic, just like Tantra, aims at completing the great work within this lifetime. So it speeds up the life processes we need to go through to mature and evolve. It forces shadow work on us. But on a very basic level, if you're looking at yourself, if you're being honest about yourself with yourself, recognizing your mistakes and trying to avoid making them, that's the shadow work you constantly need to be doing, facing the ugly side of yourself. But how mischievous are the words? I stand by everything I just said, but it could be misinterpreted and calls for an opposing truth to balance it out in a more encompassing truth. If you're enjoying this video, I ask that you leave a like, subscribe, share this video with people interested in the occult, and the best thing you can do for me for free is watching this video until the end. If you want to support me further, I invite you to the Patreon, where for $8.88 a month, you get a direct chat with me, you get access to the rituals I use, and you'll be a part of our egregore of monthly rituals aimed at the betterment of all areas of our lives. The egregore is already protected by Enochian Heptarchian kings and princes of Saturn and of Mars. We would love to have you with us. For a private ritual or consultation, you can email me, which you can also find in the description. If you prefer to give a one-time donation, I'll also be leaving in the description both my PayPal email and my WiseTag. Thank you for everyone who's already been supporting. I'm grateful. But as I was saying, words are mischievous. The idea of working to improve yourself alone can lead to a misunderstanding. The childlike perspective the magician should have also includes self-forgiveness, letting go of the mistakes of the past, acknowledging that our mistakes can hurt others and even ourselves, and we need to avoid it, while at the same time accepting we may not always be able to control our flaws. If we don't forgive ourselves, we eventually lose the determination and the discipline necessary for magical development. Which leads me to the second thing a great magician needs, and that's a meditation practice. It's constructive towards all parts of you. By training your mind to be silent, you begin to learn its patterns, which cause you to know yourself better. It may also cause you to face some of that shadow we were talking about before, while letting us perceive its behavior, on top of eventually allowing you to receive downloads of information from parts of your subconscious mind. So it truly is a well-rounded practice. I know these days people think they can't meditate, or that they do it wrong somehow. This is absurd. Everyone can do it if they understand what I'll tell you now. It's not possible to meditate wrong. You just choose an object of focus, let's say your breath, or a mantra, or whatever you like. You begin to breathe slowly and very aware, and at some point you will begin thinking of other things, or remembering something, or thinking of a song or a movie. The mind likes to run around and do all sorts of things to create stimuli to itself. When you realize your mind has lost focus, and you get back to focusing it where you had chosen previously, you have completed a repetition of this mind exercise. It doesn't have to be a chore either. Do it 2-3 minutes in the beginning. Only do more if you feel like it. Stop when you don't want to do it anymore. Respect yourself throughout the process. The adept knows everything in the material universe is ever flowing, ever changing, in constant transformation. And he embraces this change and dances with his life through the choices he makes. The third thing a true magician needs is study. A lot of it. I read every day and have done it ever since I began my magic journey. Throughout most of my life before that point, I had hated reading. I had read some books, but sometimes I would go years without reading one. When I found out what magic truly was about, I fell in love with it. Nowadays, one of my most enjoyed daily spiritual practices is exactly reading. Since this is a ceremonial magic channel, I'd say begin learning Kabbalah. It's crucial. It's a unifying philosophy of existence. It teaches you a structure that once you've learned, gives you the tools to compare with all other spiritual teachings and see that they all express parts of an absolute, all-encompassing and infinite truth. Other important readings for a magician includes the Hermetica, the Divine Pymander, to, of course, understand Hermeticism, Plotinus to get a sense of the Neoplatonists, Iamblichus to get a sense of theurgy, Agrippa to get a broad view of multiple traditions, the Tao Te Ching to get a bit of Chinese philosophy, and I really love Kashmir Shaivism from India too. Of course, Advaita Vedanta, you can look the Christian Meister Eckhart, or Sufi masters like Ibn Rushd, Plato, Giordano Bruno, John Dee. Indeed, we have many great minds that we can learn from and stand in their shoulders to create profound magic. Of course, you could also go straight to a more practical book, but I really recommend and appreciate the importance of philosophy to guide you in your journey. All that philosophy is the basis for a lot of the magical practices that came before, so understanding it allows one to connect much more knowledge and understanding to whatever magical practice they do. Plus, we receive some magical power from each of the magical books we finish. Let the divine love for all forms of life guide you. I also believe that a truly powerful magician uses their magic for the benefit of all, never for vengeance or deceit, only to protect and elevate. I say this because if someone is in a state of mind where they're attacking others, doing vengeful magic, or directing anger and malice towards people, this person clearly has no control over her shadow. His or her mind, blinded by the impulses and erratic emotions, are running the show. If a magician has no control over its own mind and over the destructive behaviors and expressions that arise from the impulses, that arise from their trauma, then its effect over the world will be equally limited. One truly needs to know and control yourself before influencing the world. This doesn't mean that the magician has to be 100% love and light. If there's an abuse situation, he can use harmful magic to protect the victim, and it could cause the attacker to suffer. But even though that will be kind of like a destructive work, it has pure intent of protecting someone. If you see a magician attacking others because of disagreements or arguments, or if you see a magician that's always stressed, angry, or even sad constantly, all of those indicate that there's some shadow work to be done. There's some aspects of this person who needs to be properly integrated in a way that's healthy, that allows a space for those characteristics to exist without ruling the person, without making the person do impulsive stuff. It's through time and effort that we grow more powerful, more confident, not only on our magic, but in all areas of our lives. After all, we see that it's all one thing. Every part is interconnected. The magician is constantly working to evolve, balance, and harmonize all aspects of his life. But even if you don't feel like that right now, don't give up on the path. If you don't have this childlike sense of wonder and curiosity and bliss, and those blissful states, don't worry. Magic will guide you there. It can transform you into this magician that I'm talking about. We begin to see how all parts of our life were crucial for our growth. We learn to love who we are, and through this love and knowing ourselves, we begin to know the divine inside us. And we eventually get so familiarized with the divine inside us that we begin to see how every part of it reflects the whole, due to the fractal nature of the universe, and the one who emanated and permutes itself into the entirety of the universe, the plane of multiplicity. The truly powerful magician has the power to control its own mind, and through its profound knowledge of how his individual mind connects to the divine mind, he can affect changes in the reality through his art. Art because in his childlike wonder the magician creates for the joy of self-expression, tuning in to the great game of this whole existence, what it truly is. It's a game aimed at enjoyment and self-expression of the divine through us all, where the divine contracts itself to experience from the perspective of an individual and then be able to have the bliss of discovering the totality of itself. And so the magician helps others live that same beauty as he is faced with the suffering of the world, easing the suffering of people one by one, until one day the majority of humanity may reflect this divine love, bliss, and oneness. Even if he knows that he won't be physically alive to see it, he still strives towards it, simply because it's the right and the best thing to do. So, of course, the magician acts without attachment to the results that he will get. He just does what needs to be done because it's the right thing to do and because it's joyous to do so. I realize that at a surface level, it may seem contradictory with what I had said in the beginning of the video, that the magician accepts that he's flawed. And now I'm saying that he needs to not be controlled by his own impulses. I'm not saying the magician has to be perfect. There isn't such a thing in the material universe. Because the physical plane is just a part of reality, and perfection lies in wholeness. That which embodies wholeness is holy. This is literally where the word comes from. So it's clear that the magician also has to unify things that are seemingly opposite. And he's capable of doing it because he's focused in oneness. Most, and I'm only not saying all because I haven't studied all, but so far all of the great magical geniuses, mystics, and philosophers that built the philosophical foundation of magic have been deeply focused in oneness. Because magic is meant to induce mystical experiences. The true religious man has magical experiences, and a great magician will experience divine states of oneness, bliss, joy, love, all together in awe of its wholeness and beauty. The first magicians were the shamans, the mystical religious guide of each tribe. Swamis, tantrics, masters, lamas, messiahs, prophets, saints, they're all names for people with a personal and sincere connection and relationship with the divine. And the divine, being infinite, can be simultaneously unique to each one, while at the same time carrying the same core characteristics. In summary, a magician does his magic to elevate himself closer and closer to the absolute source of all existence. Eventually, they will have an experience that proves oneness to them, an experience of immediate truth that is so encompassing and that can't be explained. So they will feel maybe a little insane. But through study they will find that throughout all times that the mystics of all religions arrived at the same place. They will find it in Advaita Vedanta, in Taoism, in Greek philosophy, be it Plato, Aristotle, Plotinus, Thales, even the ones who disagreed with each other. If you get past the particularities of its mode of manifestation, they mostly agreed with this concept of oneness. The same goes for a Kabbalist. Kabbalah will give you the key to seeing how they all corroborate through its own archetypal structure, on top of proving one more philosophical movement that agreed with this same universal concept. Even more modern European philosophers like Hegel and Spinoza, and I'm certain many more that I'm not aware of, also corroborate this idea. So it becomes easy to study a lot because you've been proven a blissful state of being that can be accessed by yourself, but eventually you get back to normal and have to find other ways to regain that divine state of being. And as you refine yourself in making your way to that defined state of consciousness, you learn of all the beautiful people that came before you but carried the exact same conviction. So the bliss becomes more and more present, more and more part of our daily lives. I'm not perfect, far from it. I still have a lot of things to work on, but I'm getting dang good at getting back to the divine state of being. And I will keep working on myself, knowing that the bliss grows and grows until we complete the great work. We become enlightened. And that's when the bliss is constant, even during pain, even while crying, even in poverty. The enlightened being still faces the challenges of life, but every part of life, even the hard ones, have their value and beauty. And as we grow accustomed to the divine bliss I'm talking about, it becomes easier for that value or beauty that exists even in pain, and that's usually obscured by the pain, to actually come true and make even the sad experience a beautiful one. And just a small tip, stretch your body, get your brain accustomed to feeling pain, train it to accept it. It will make easier to face emotional pains as well. Lastly, a magician is free of dogma or fixed ideas of how the world should be or has to be. He accepts all that is and can use multiple structures of thought to get closer and closer to truth, while still knowing that no structure could hold the entirety of it. Therefore, we can continue to learn indefinitely, for that's what the universe does in this game of Shiva Lila. where the divine manifests as many, and this is a blissful act of self-expression to share its bliss, wisdom, and power with the many it becomes. So the perspectives along the path that provide you more growth are exactly the ones that brings us closer to the point of view of the Absolute, from right within yourself. And this divine is the very capacity of consciousness, awareness, and perception, who is always present, everywhere, transcendent, and immanent. May all bliss and divine wisdom reach you, and may you too begin to be aware of the divine who is always present right here and right now. If you feel I may help you achieve that, I'll be glad to try my best to do so. So follow me on YouTube, leave a like, join my Patreon, and thank you very much for watching until the end. Bye bye.